Hi everybody and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're taking a look at one of the big famous personality tests that people will take sometimes. They'll do it for themselves. Sometimes they'll do it when they're getting interviewed for a job. Some companies use them. But speaking of personality tests, do you ever do kind of fun Facebooky ones? You know, like which World Cup team are you? No, just for a laugh.
No.
I do. I just do it for a bit of fun.
Where do you find?
I was Belgium.
You were Belgium?
I was Belgium,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
You didn't do
Ended
very
up not
well.
very well for the last World Cup.
No, you were kind of disappointing.
Yeah, but...
No, you're not Belgium. You're
Yeah.
definitely at least Cameroon.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a bit more colourful.
Yeah.
Although I will say I don't do them if they're on Facebook, because then you can kind of give away personal info.
Yeah.
But
that might be one of the reasons I don't do them.
On more legitimate websites, I'll sometimes do some kind of, just click fun, see where I end up.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I don't even know where I would find something like that. I guess I have to look for them.
Magazines,
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember them in some of the lady magazines my mom used to buy, but it was always, is your husband a good guy or something? I don't have a husband. I don't know. So no, I've never really done that, but now I'm kind of curious. I think I'm going to go out and look for some. I want to know what World Cup soccer team I am.
Well, hopefully not Canada.
Hopefully not Canada. Yeah.
No, never mind.
Well, they were okay.
They weren't too bad.
Yes.
They got there. So, enough about World Cup football.
Right.
Let's talk about
Yes.
this big personality test. This isn't just like a fun, what team are you, that kind of thing. This has got a little more to do with personality. Let's read through the article and find out more about it.
Reading.
An introduction to the MBTI personality test. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Test, published by the Myers-Briggs Company, is better known as the MBTI test. It was originally created by Catherine Briggs and her daughter, Isabel Briggs Myers, in 1943. They spent many years further developing and improving the test. The MBTI test is based on Carl Jung's theory of personality types. It helps people to understand themselves and others. That is why it has grown in popularity. Although the test is based on scientific theory, some experts have questioned whether or not the test is reliable. For one thing, neither Catherine Briggs nor Isabel Briggs Myers had any formal training in psychology. For another, the results could be affected by mood or stressful life events. In other words, people's results can change in different situations. Therefore, the Myers-Briggs Company states that the MBTI is a tool for personal development. Additionally, the test has been updated many times to add new information and make it suitable for modern times. The MBTI test doesn't claim to put anyone in a box. It gives us a way to understand our own personality and other people's personalities, which may lead to better and stronger relationships.
So you'll see we've been using the letters in the title of this article, the MBTI. Well, what does it stand for? We explain that in our first sentence. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Test, published by the Myers-Briggs Company, is better known as the MBTI test. So the I in that MBTI, Myers-Briggs is the name, type is fairly obvious, but indicator, something that's an indicator is a thing that hints or shows that something might be true. It indicates it, it kind of points towards it. However, it does not 100% prove it. It's just a very good sign rather than absolute 100% this is definite. So this is a personality test or an indicator to kind of what your personality is, and it's published by this Myers-Briggs company.
There you go. To publish is basically to make something, but when we publish something, we are making something you can read. We're not making something like shoes are made in a factory or cars are made in a factory. You publish things. You could use a factory of some kind where you actually put the letters on paper and then put that paper into the form of a magazine, newspaper, or book, but it's basically that whole process. So the writer finishes the writing, they check it to make sure all the words are spelled well, and then now it's time to get it out there so people can read it. We can publish it online, we can publish it on paper and sell it in bookshops or places like that, but basically if it's available for people to read and it's something that, well, hopefully people will want to read, then a company will publish it, and once it's published, you and I will be able to either click on a website and read it there or buy something, some kind of paper product like a book or magazine and read it there.
So this test is published, which means you could find it online, you could find a book with the instructions in and so on.
Yep.
But what exactly is it? Well, the article says it was originally created by Catherine Briggs and her daughter Isabel Briggs Myers in 1943. Wow. So, yeah, it's been around for like 80 years.
Longer than me.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that was what it was originally when it was originally created. Let's take a look at that word originally. Originally means at first, in the first place, for the very first time. I mean, sure, there are new tests. These tests, MBTI tests, brought out now and last year, and there'll be a new one next year. But when was it first done? When was it originally done? All the way back in 1943. Here's another example sentence using this adverb. Originally, Elvira learned to play the ukulele, but then she switched to the banjo. So it was this woman and her daughter, they first published this test 80 years ago.
That's right. And it says they spent many years further developing and improving the test. Yeah, often things dealing with people, psychology, personality, a lot of these things do change over time because really you learn more when you start to encounter or use a test like this on different types of people from different countries, different parts of society, because really there is a huge variety of people out there. So if you're making a test that checks out their personality, you really need to be able to, make it work for a lot of people because everyone is different.
Yeah, but they had to start from something.
Right.
So let's find out what that something was. We see the MBTI test is based on Carl Jung's theory of personality types. Okay, Carl Jung was a famous thinker, philosopher, that kind of thing. And so he came up with this idea about personality types, and this is what Briggs and Myers-Briggs based it on. To base something on something, or if we use the passive voice, be based on something, then that means you use this thing as a base, some kind of foundation, like the bottom of a house, and then you build on it. You start with this, and then you go, okay, let's take this, and we add this, and we change this, and we kind of develop it this way, but that is your base, the thing you start with.
That's right, and this was based on one of Jung's theories. What is a theory? It's basically a really great idea that a scientist or a thinker has, but then they have to do tests and experiments to prove it. Once they prove it, it becomes a fact. But before they have the data, before they do those tests, it's just a theory. It's an idea based on something. Some theories, of course, are easier to test than others. You can set up an experiment for something in a lab and test a theory like that very easily. But other theories, like the theory of evolution, it's a little bit harder to test. You just need to find a lot of evidence around you in the world that basically shows that, yeah, this explanation, this theory, it really does seem to make sense and it really does seem to work in the real world. And of course, there are other theories like Einstein's theories about how black holes could allow us to travel through time and space. These are theories that we still haven't been able to test out, but people still think there's some good thinking behind them because to get a theory, you have to do a lot of good thinking first. For example, that teacher based her lessons on several well-respected educational theories. No wonder she teaches so well.
Yeah, and that's using based on as well as theories. Okay, so what is the point of this indicator test? The article says it helps people to understand themselves and others. Basically says like, how do you think? What kind of person are you? How will you react in certain circumstances?
Okay, so we're testing a little bit more than what soccer team are you?
Yes.
Based on your personality. And that is why this test, the MBTI test, that is why it has grown in popularity. I'm sure at first a few small research places or universities were using it, but now it's used in many different ways in society.
Okay, now in that sentence we looked at today's language in focus, so let's take a moment to examine it in a bit more detail. So that sentence started with the phrase, that is why. And that is why is used to show why something happens. It's the reason. And we use this little linking phrase here to really link the reason for something to the effect of something. We've given a thing that happened and we're saying that, the thing that happened first in the previous sentence, is the reason for this thing. It talks about personality types and helps us understand each other, and that is the reason why it is so popular. It's just connecting cause and effect. For example, the factory has run out of materials. That is why our order is late. So we're saying that is why this test has gained in popularity.
Okay, so basically it's become more popular. More people are using it today than were using it back in the 40s and 50s. Because yeah, popularity is a noun that simply talks about being popular. If you have a lot of popularity, you are very popular. Many people know you, like you, whatever. A lot of people have positive feelings about you. If you're not very well known, well, you might still have a lot of popularity among your friends and family, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're famous. People often associate popularity with being famous, with fame, and that is true. But you know, you can also just have popularity in your circle of friends because everyone likes you and thinks you're a real awesome person. All right, back to the article.
Right, so not everybody is like absolutely kind of perfectly happy with this test.
Because it's personality. It's hard to test things like that.
Well, we see that although the test is based on scientific theory, there are those two words again, some experts have questioned whether or not the test is reliable. So they're saying, all right, you're using these scientific ideas, but does it actually kind of work out? Is it right enough of the time? So the test does use scientific ideas. Scientific is just the adjective meaning having something to do with science. If you've got a kind of scientific brain, then you enjoy science. You understand it, you like learning about it. Scientific theories are ones that you can test with science by repeated experiments, rather than just kind of guessing and thinking, that's probably about right. So we might say astrology might be interesting, but it isn't scientific. So your zodiac signs, Leo, Cancer, and all the rest, and what that says about you, yeah, kind of cool, kind of fun, but there's no science behind it, so it is not scientific. And maybe that means that this test is not quite reliable.
Interesting. Well, it's very easy to measure how tall someone is or how much they weigh, but trying to measure their personality, that's a little bit of a harder thing to do. And the results that you get might not be reliable. If I give Pat a personality quiz on a day when he's feeling great and positive and in a good mood, that might give a different result than if I give it to him, the day after his dog died or something terrible happened, right? Because people's personality, their mood, their emotions change a lot. So trying to test those moods and emotions, that might not be so reliable. If something's reliable, you can count on it. You can trust it. It won't let you down. It won't break. It won't give you bad information or something like that. If you have an unreliable thing in your house, it might break all the time or cause you all sorts of trouble. When we're looking for places to get news, we want reliable news sources. People who give us all the important facts and don't sort of make up stuff or tell us things they want us to believe. So something reliable can be trusted, can be counted on. Hopefully it will never let you down. Not like my alarm clock, or at least my old one. So that's why I say, I heard that Jack has a new girlfriend. His best friend told me, so the news must be reliable.
So what are the reasons why people think this test is not as reliable as it could be?
Okay.
Well, the article says, for one thing, neither Catherine Briggs nor Isabel Briggs Myers had any formal training in psychology. Okay, so they hadn't been to university to study psychology.
Right.
Like they may have read books, but they hadn't taken classes. That's why we say formal training. And we started that sentence with the phrase, for one thing. We use this phrase when we're making multiple points or giving multiple reasons or factors or supporting evidence. And we often use it paired with the phrase for another or for another thing. So for one thing adds the first reason or detail or information or example. For another will add a second or subsequent later on in the passage, in the paragraph, and so on. It's just a way we can organize arguments so readers and listeners can go, okay, you've made that point, here's some information, and now you're making a separate point about the same thing, but it's a new point with new information.
All right, so we're making a long list and we're trying to keep you on track with all the different points. And the point in that sentence was that these two ladies had no training in psychology, or no formal training in psychology. Psychology is the scientific study of the mind and human behavior. If you're one of the kind of person who wants to work with people who are not sick in their bodies but might be having problems in their minds with their moods and emotions and feeling happy or feeling sad all the time, those are the types of things that someone who studies psychology, or a psychologist, a doctor who is an expert in this field, that is what they will focus on. Not your body and your bones and your blood and your muscles, but the things going on in your mind. It could be about the chemicals in your mind that can control our moods, but it can also just be about those feelings that people have. So, I mean, I guess it's okay if people who don't have formal training set up a test, but it would have to have the approval of people who did have formal training in psychology.
Yes, so that's one reason these women were not formally trained. For another, so there's our second point now, the results, as Mike has said, could be affected by mood or stressful life events. In other words, people's results can change in different situations, exactly as Mike pointed out.
Absolutely. I mean, even with checking your blood pressure, right? There's something called white coat syndrome. If someone sees a doctor, doctors make them nervous. I'm going to get sick. I'm going to die of something. And then they test them and all their blood pressure is really high and they're very stressed. So the same kind of way. Some people just don't do well doing tests. Normally they'd be relaxed, but their mood can really change. Therefore, it says the Myers-Briggs Company states that the MBTI is a tool for personal development. So they're not kind of saying, you know, give this to someone who you're thinking of dating because it will tell you if they're crazy or not or something. No, it's not something that you can use to just say, no, you're not the right person. It's more for you to try to understand yourself and your mind and your feelings better.
Yeah, you wouldn't use this, a doctor wouldn't use this to evaluate a patient, but you might use it to say,
you failed, go to jail.
Yeah, what kind of person you generally are.
Okay.
We also see, additionally, the test has been updated many times to add new information and make it suitable for modern times, okay? So that's another reason why it's not absolutely reliable, because they kind of keep changing it and adding new stuff, which means the older versions maybe weren't quite correct, but it just means that, hey, it's still a useful tool and people can use it and it's changing to bring in new info. That's a good thing. We here saw the word additionally, which is just another way of saying and, also, furthermore. It's a way to show that we are adding extra information to what we've already said. For example, Grant says he will be late for the meeting. Additionally, he has also asked if he can leave early. So one piece of information, he'll be late. Additionally, here's the extra information, he wants to leave early.
To update something, as we saw in that last sentence, is basically to add in new information to make what we're using even more useful, even more connected to the modern times, to what we're doing now, to what is going on. We often use this also as a noun, an update. You might get these on your phone once in a while when they have a new kind of OS or whatever, new kind of software. And they're like, hey, if you use the old one, it'll still work, but it won't work as well, and you won't get all these newest additions, these new functions that we have, so you will update your phone as a verb by plugging it in and letting it download, or you can call that information as a noun an update. It's basically getting it up to date or current with what is going on now.
So this test is kind of constantly changing. It's based on science, but not super formal. So that's why it may not be reliable. But the people who created it aren't saying this is all the answers. We see in the article the MBTI test doesn't claim to put anyone in a box. So if you see the word claim as a verb, then somebody is saying this thing is true, even if there is no definite proof. If I say, I have been to the moon, that's a big claim, and I can't prove it, but I could still say it and hope people would believe me. Here's another example. James claimed that his girlfriend cheated on him, so they broke up. That's what he says, that's what he's telling everybody, but there's no actual proof to show that it's 100% true. But what does it mean to put someone in a box?
To put someone in a box is basically to put them in a category and kind of leave them in that category with no ability to change or have their own opinion of whether they actually should be in that category. Often if you see someone just by the way they're dressed or their haircut or they have a lot of tattoos or something, oh, that person's no good, or oh, that person must be an artist of some kind or something. You're putting that person in a box based on how they look or your opinion of how they look and what they're wearing. You might find out that the person in black leather with lots of tattoos is actually a lawyer or something like that. That's why it's not good to put someone in a box, or as we might also say, judge someone from their appearance, judge a book by its cover. Putting people in groups and categories without really taking the time to figure out who they are, because often people cannot be put in boxes, as we've said. Everyone's personality is very unique and special.
Yeah, so the test is saying it's not going to tell you everything and put you in this box and say, this is you and this is all you are. But, as the article says, it gives us a way to understand our own personality and other people's personalities, which may lead to better and stronger relationships. So it won't give you all the answers, but it's an indicator test. It may give you some signs, some pointers, a few things to think about, which you will then work on yourself to get into a better or stronger relationship.
Okay.
So tomorrow we're going to look at some of the different personality types that you can get when you take this test. But right now we're going to go to our For You Chat question.
You chat.
All right, so our chat question is about personality. Now, we don't have the Myers-Briggs test. We don't have that here, so I'm just going to ask you, how would you describe your personality? Pretend you are you and also a test.
All right, well, Belgium, obviously,
clearly.
Forget Belgium.
Clearly,
but,
yes.
I would say I am creative. I think I can back that up. I would say as I've become older, I'm getting grumpier.
Oh, yeah. I might agree with you there.
Creative, occasionally grumpy.
Okay.
A little bit cynical. Maybe at times, you know, I don't necessarily, I kind of step back, look at the world and think, this is stupid. But I try not to be too much like that.
It's easy to be cynical these days, I guess.
Yeah, it can be. So that's kind of two bad ones. I'll try and balance it out with a second good one. Creative and fairly open. Open. Yeah, I'm willing to accept pretty much anything, try something new, check out, you know, I'm not going to close my mind on judgments about anything or say that my opinion is right and I can't change it.
There you go. That's a pretty honest
Got
assessment.
any words you want to throw out for you?
Occasionally grumpy. I would definitely put that in there. I don't know, lazy occasionally. Trying to think of some positive things that I can't think of anything positive to say about myself. It feels a little bit like showing off.
Polite, charming?
Polite? I don't really know.
No? Okay.
Anyways, let's get to the next day's article because we're going to find out more about the Myers-Briggs test.
You can take it and find out.
That's right. Well, we're going to talk about some personality types. So maybe I will be able to put myself into a box.
Great.
And talk about myself more that way. But whatever happens, however your personality comes out, if it's through a test or through talking about it or just through having nice people say nice things about you, it's interesting stuff to know. And it can always help you get to know yourself better, which is good.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Take care.
Vocabulary Review.
Originally. Isaac's apartment building was originally a factory before it was turned into apartments. Theory. The scientist is looking for facts to prove his theory that life came to Earth from space. Scientific. A professor did a scientific study of earthquakes in Hualien to find out how often they occur. Reliable. This bus schedule isn't reliable now because it was made a few years ago. Additionally. Tom found a new job that offers great pay. Additionally, it offers a lot of paid vacation days. Claim. Julia claimed to have seen animals from another planet, but she didn't have any photos.
智慧小补帖
Indicator. Publish. Psychology. Update.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net